Hey, Saber Legion, how's it going? We have another episode of Repost and Riposte coming up. Uh, this is gonna be a shorter episode because I have somewhere I have to be in like 45 minutes, so I gotta leave in like half an hour. So it's gonna be short, but I'm gonna talk about some TSL5 stuff since uh, this is the last Repost and Riposte before TSL5. So we got 1 week away. 1 week from now, we will be almost finished with the first day of TSL5. So got a lot to look forward to. Hello there on YouTube, new guy. Um, I will note that my setup is a little bit simplified today because I was actually one of my adapters that I normally use to set all this up is not working. So I have improvised. I have a methodology to get my two camera set up. It's not perfect, but it will work at least for now. So this is what we will do. Okay, so today going to be discussing. Let me just pull it up here. And I talked about mental preparation. I just have some notes. So, again, we're going to be a week away. I've talked about mental preparation in the past couple episodes. I think I've talked about it. Maybe some of the road to combat cons. Physical preparation. Here are things that you should consider if you're fighting. You're fighting, for your first time in a tournament. Here's things you should look at. So I wanted to talk about the mental element of it because there's elements to the mental preparation that people always talk about. Things like make sure you're prepared to just for the amount of matches, the mental strain it's going to take. Be prepared for all the changes and all these things, all the input that's all the different things that you're going to experience that could overwhelm you. They Some will also talk about not thinking about your fights actively, getting into kind of a no mind or a warrior mind situation. Those are all things that are valid and should be considered. But what I'm talking about is a little bit more last minute kind of preparation things that you can do. These are things that mainly are to make sure you're prepared to deal with any potential scenario, whether that's good or bad. And maybe this is good advice for life, but I will defer to probably a professional on that one. So um, what I would say is just some things to think about. So I'm going to use my example here. I went into TSL2 as my first Saber Legion tournament. I think it was like my third or fourth tournament in general. But my first major one, then the big annual tournament. I had a lot of excitement coming into that. I had trained hard. I had done all these things. I went in with the expectations of getting to making a good show. There were certain techniques I was working on. I wanted to perform those successfully. I wanted to show off the styles that I had been using. That was kind of my main goal. And then I got knocked out in the second round of the standard at the time by Jason Newing. And then with exotics, I ended up getting all the way to the finals. And I ended up losing to Jason Newing in the finals. So Jason was the one that beat me in both of the TSL tournaments that I fought on at TSL2. Um, I expected, I was okay with losing in the second round because this is when we still had single eliminations, not pools. I was okay with losing in that second round. But the finals, so that was something that was unexpected, right? I didn't expect to necessarily go all the way to the finals to move all the way through that. And to be perfectly honest, I had prepared for, getting a few good matches in, maybe three, and then I would probably like, run into somebody that was better than me. And I did in the finals, but that was a few matches in. And I think my brain, and this is not an excuse for losing or anything. This is just things that go through your head, right? Because all of these thoughts go through your head. Oh, what if I win? Oh, how am I going to ever beat? This guy beat me yesterday. How am I going to beat him? All of these things that you think about, and I needed to prepare myself. I need to, make sure that in the future for tournaments, I was better prepared for unexpected scenarios, whether they be positive or negative. Um, TSL 3, I went in and unexpectedly, had a shoulder injury about a week prior. I was going in expecting to do pretty well. I wasn't expecting to go like I was expecting to do pretty well, and I ended up, having my breakthrough year. I came in third in the standard, and then I also, was almost to the exotics, and I had to drop out for injury. Right. So these are different things that I had to do. I had to deal with. I had to drop out because that shoulder injury just, got worse and worse. So what do I do in those scenarios? I needed to, that was hard to deal with. So I just want to give you that backstory, right? Because there's a couple things that I think people should think about what they prepare for. What are my goals for TSL 5? I'm not going to say what all my goals are because some of that is, personal training information, right? But I've talked about it. My goal is to win the exotics in the standard. That's my goal. It's a big goal. But for me, at the point where I'm at, it's achievable. I've gotten close to it in both divisions, or like on multiple occasions. And it's a realistic goal, because that's the big thing about, these goal setting mental preparation things, is you should set a realistic goal, right? I think it's easily not easily, I say easily measurable is what I was going to say, because it's, a level, you get this or you don't, right? But I need to prepare for a couple things, right? In addition to that, there is the possibility of anything can happen on the weekend, whether that be a matchup that is particularly difficult and I lose, or a matchup that, you know, if you hear that noise, that is my vehicle charging. It's going to do that for about 30 seconds. But, I needed to prepare for how I was going to focus on, how I can deal with losing potentially, on how I can deal with winning or getting to the final point of where I could win, right? Think about, like, you know, one thing I think I have an issue with is when I get into those big matches, um, it's that I struggle with getting inside my head. I think about what I need to do, right? The specific thing, which is not really useful in that level of a match. I need to focus on what happens there. Um, so, like, thinking about what's going to happen when you get into that match, and let's just say, you're in a pool and you're in a match with, it's standard. And you're in a match with, I'm just going to say Alan, because Alan was the tournament champion last time in PSL 4. What what do you do in that scenario for your first tournament? The advice I would give is, one, you do exactly what you've trained to do. Whether it works or does not work is irrelevant. You may very well, the chances of you winning may not be good, but the things you can learn by fighting your fights against a very skilled opponent can be very helpful in future training. The second thing to consider, say you're in that pool, right? And you fight, that's your first fight. You're fighting against Alan, and you lose, right? If you're in standard, two people are moving on, right? So now you have to focus and win those next two. So there's no point in going into that kind of match with a self-defeating attitude of I can't win no matter what I do. And I will tell you, and Alan knows this, that some people have pushed him to the edge and almost beaten him, and some people have beaten him in the past. That when he was kind of at that level. So just keep that in mind. That is there's no reason to get in a self-defeating attitude just because of the history. If you get in the ring with me, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter what I've done. All that matters is what happens at that moment in the ring. Um, I will mention if you guys got questions or something like that, just let me know. Like I say, it's going to short talk today, but then and then we'll go on from there. Um, so the other thing I've looked at is, I talk a big game and say I want to win the tournaments. I want to win both of them, and I think I can do it. I think I've trained enough. I can do it, right? If I don't, what can I do in that instance? Well, I have other goals that I want to achieve this weekend that have nothing to do with me winning. And if I can achieve those goals, I will be happy. You know, it may not be the exact thing I wanted, but it's probably the thing I needed to understand. And then I go back to training and I learn more and more and I train more and more and I think about it more and more. That's the key thing is that, and another aspect of losing, I will say, let's just say I go in, whether I go into the pools or eliminations or something like that, and I lose to, someone who's an up and coming fighter, right? They've done well, maybe in regional tournaments, and they beat me. Great, that's great. I've given someone else the breakout moment that I had when I was able to push past one of those all stars. I really hate discussing myself in that context. I don't like using that word, but that's what I considered when I was thinking about people at TSL3 like Ryan Kappas and stuff like that. That's usually the people that had been just champions for so long, right? And at the top of the ranking kind of. So I could give someone else that breakthrough moment. That alone, I think, is a very satisfying thing to do, even if you're the one on the receiving end of that loss. So being able to prepare for something like that, at the very least, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm going to lose and I'm going to give someone a breakout moment. Like, I'm not planning on doing that. But should it happen, I've done the thought process and I've thought about how it feels, and it's not so bad. It's not the end of the world. It's okay to lose a match and be out of a tournament. It hurts, it sucks, but it could be worse. So that's a big thing that I just wanted to kind of bring up. It's just you losing is a part of this game. You will not necessarily win every single match, and if you do, at a certain point, then you seek something different. A lot of times that happens, right? So I say, keep trying to. Losing is also a way that you can improve, right? If I didn't, for example, I'll just give you an example. If I didn't lose, I had a CS match before TSL3 in Minnesota. It was in June, I think. I think it was June, May or June, and I went into that with pretty high hopes about what I was going to do, and I got beat, and I got beat pretty soundly, in my opinion. I don't think it was against Mark Carrico. I don't think he was ever in danger of losing that match, and my tactics failed completely. Everything I wanted to do just backfired on me. I pulled off like the one little technique that I wanted to pull off. That was like the one positive of that match, right? But that's hard, right? So what did I do? I modified my focus. I focused on some different techniques. I kept working on some things, and then I went into TSL3 and did really well. So don't think of winning or losing this at TSL5 or any tournament that you go to as the end of the road, either on that day. The one thing also you can do, and I would say that, and almost any of the fighters who have placed or done really well in the past, the people who have been with the organization a long time, they're more than willing to talk to you about the match after the fact. You know, if you're um, if you come across me, right? And I'm constantly like looking at that just because, you know, I when I teach rapier, I have to be looking at my, you know, the people I'm teaching. I have to make sure that they are working properly. Um, oh, hey Alicia, how you doing? Good to see you. I have to make sure that, you know, that they are, that when I am at least doing like a slow spar with them or something like that, because usually we don't do too much heavy sparring in the class, in the classroom setting specifically, that I'm looking for things that, oh, hey, you know, I noticed that this is happening or this behavior is occurring. Here's a way you can adjust that, or have you thought about this, and propose a question. I'm more than willing to give that information. I tend to not sometimes because I tend to not, by default, unless asked, because some people will take it negatively if I say, "Hey, here's some things that you could work on." Um, you know, it can come off, you know, it can sound arrogant, right? If someone beats you and you say, you know, "Hey, I just beat you, and here's what you could have done better." In my opinion, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, hey, here's some things I've noticed that you can work on. And in my opinion, I would love if anybody who I fought, whether I win or lose, would do the same for me. And I think that's part of the community of TSL. And I think that's an important thing to consider this weekend. You know, try to find those learning moments, in victory, in loss. Try to prepare those scenarios in your brain. Just run them through real quick. I'm not saying you have to dwell. Do not dwell on like negative scenarios, because you will, you know, fill yourself with anxiety. I mean, I was thinking about the exotics today, the exotics tournament. I was thinking about a couple things. And then I started getting anxiety, right? I'm like, what is happening? Why am I getting anxiety? And it was because I was thinking about like my last two exotics tournaments. I had physical problems that kept me from completing my goal, right? I had a shoulder injury at TSL3. I had an exhaustion issue at TSL4, and those things took me out of the tournament. So uh, just you know, it's making sure that, yeah, it's making sure that you you just you learn from what you're doing. But you've prepared yourself. You know, I'm prepared that my goal. Like, I'll give you some goals that I have. You know, one goal is I want to stay healthy the whole time. I don't want to take any injuries or anything like that. You know, after this, I'm going to be spending another week with my family on vacation, and I want to enjoy that time. I don't want to be nursing an injury, right? So I want to stay healthy. I want to keep my opponents safe. I don't want to cause any unnecessary injuries. Um, you know, those are things that I want to achieve. Um, and I would say that those are essential goals, but they are not related to winning. They're not related to any of those things. Um, there are a couple techniques that I'm working on that I want to successfully implement them into um, my regular you know, my regular playbook, or whatever you want to call it. I want to do that. You know, that's all outside of winning. I'm helping. I'm running the media stream. I want to do a bunch of things that we haven't been able to achieve before. Um, you know, we haven't. You know, in a multi-ring tournament, where we have more than one ring happening for a tournament, there hasn't been a TSL tournament where we've captured every single fight, meaning every single fight got recorded in some way, shape, or form, and whether we have it as part of the stream because, you know, there's multiple rings running at the same time, or we don't. You know, I want to make sure that we can take that and share that with the community, so everybody could literally go to their fights and look at what they have, and that way there is something that they can learn from that. They can look at that. Um, I really do want that to happen. So that's a big goal, right? Um, so those are all things that have nothing to do with winning the tournament. Again, that's one of my goals, right? But I am fully. I have enough things that I can tick off my list that I would be satisfied even if I would say not make it out of pools in both of my tournament divisions. Um, the fighter in me would be frustrated. The person who's training all this time would be frustrated, but I think I would be frustrated to work even harder at that point. So that's not it's not as bad as I think it would be. So running that, I've run that scenario in my head, and I know that it's okay. Um, but I've also run the opposite scenarios, right? I've run the opposite scenario of like, what does it feel like? I've visualized what's it going to feel like? What's it going to do to motivate me in my training, in my physical conditioning, things like that, to push myself further than I have been before. That's another aspect of it. So those are things just to think about in relation to um, like mental preparation is like different things you can do. Monitor your mindset throughout the week. If you're how you're feeling after a specific match. Sometimes when you have a really tough match, even if you win, say you win that really hard match, you won it 9-8 or something like that, right? And like that match might have used up a lot of your mental and physical resources. Think about how you can recover from that. Think about how you can recover mentally, because it's not always electrolytes and water and some form of nutrition that's going to be the way to get you out of that. It's going to be there's going to be something else you need to do to clear your mind, or whatever you need to do, whether that's like a minute of breathing techniques, or a mindfulness meditation, or just like some people listen to have a song that centers like that gets them in the zone, whether that it doesn't matter. It's all, find the thing that works for you, but look for those things to reset yourself after a fight, win or lose. I know some people need to do that, and some people need to like the equivalent. I know they're not actually going to do it because nobody's going to do that at Las Vegas, but they need the equivalent of they need to punch a wall because of how that something had happened in the fight, and they do that privately, not publicly, because again, you can get kicked out of the tournament for that. And if you're trying to damage flamingo property, or something like that, you could get kicked out of the flamingo for that. So that's not what I'm referring to, but I just meant the mental equivalent of, I need to go punch a wall for, that's another methodology that some people find effective. So think about what has helped you in the past, whether you have been to a tournament or not. There are situations that are similar enough that you can find from your life where you've managed your mental and your physical needs throughout that time, whether that be a race, or maybe even just like you went to like climb a mountain, hike up a mountain with friends, and like that was a tough thing, and then how did you get through that, right? Those are those are memories and experiences you can access to help you have the resolve to keep pushing through the weekend, because regardless of win or lose, regardless of who comes in first, second, third, we want everyone to have a good time. We want everybody to come away satisfied with the experience. And if you didn't, you know, either figure out why. Was it something just in your head, or something that unrealistic expectation that you had? What can you do to set that realistic expectation? Or is it something with the event that actually went wrong, right? In that case, that's why we have, people who are event coordinators like myself, like Melody, like, the directing team. Those are people we can talk to, and we can figure out, is this an issue that, we need to resolve, something that didn't work properly? Because that also shouldn't drag down your weekend if that one thing happens, because we tell someone and they either try to resolve it, or we can note it for the future so it doesn't happen again. We can at least maybe empathize with you, because a lot of times, these things, certain things happen to people at tournaments, and it's like, yeah, I've been there. That happened to me. A similar thing happened to me, and when I blah 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 blah. So just keep that in mind. Try to think about the mindset you want to go away with. I mean, the one thing I would say that I've gone away with from every single TSL tournament, national tournament that or international tournament that I've been involved with, is I've come away feeling really satisfied with the community's overall vibe at the end of the day. Um, whether I was injured and I had to drop out of tournaments and I couldn't do these things that I wanted to do, I felt satisfied that with what I achieved, but I also felt satisfied with how everybody else was feeling about it. So that's the key thing is like, that is a very positive thing to grab off to glom off of. Take the positive vibes of the TSL community and use that to fuel you for success, whatever that means to you, whatever that success is. Just keep that in mind. So um, that's that's what I would talk about. Just some like last minute mental preparation things that are not related to how you're going to do in a fight, and here's how you prepare, and here's things you should consider. She should be training on. Just getting your mind in the right place so you're ready at the time to fight. You're ready to fight. When it's time to have fun, you're ready to have fun. You're not in the fight anymore. Win or lose, right? um, when you're done fighting for the day, that you've properly, like, I would recommend taking a journal down of like your experience of what you think happened in those fights. It's a good thing to do just for the purposes of making sure that nothing, um, if something specifically happened, you're probably not going to remember it the next day. So like if there's something that happened that you need to work on, you can jot that down. Those are different techniques that I can recommend. Note it down on your phone, whatever you need to do. But you know, make sure that when each experience happens, that you can live in that experience. A lot of us haven't been in a vacation like scenario, where we're having a competition for a little while. Well, I mean, it's pretty much most of us, right? And we need to be in the moment and not necessarily think about stuff that we don't need to think about, stuff that's going to detract from our experience. So again, that applies to fighting, that applies to directing, line judging. um, Come in with an open mind, be present, uh, be willing to volunteer and help us out. With line judging, table, running the table, scoreboard, timer, um, that kind of stuff. Um, when you're not in the room, and you're back in your room, it maybe while the tournament's still going on, you could watch it on social media and you could help us on social media, and you could do things like if someone says, "Hey, what is this? What is this saber fighting? What is this?" And you can direct them and say, "Hey, we're on Facebook, we're on Discord. Look us up." So just that's just things I want to keep in mind. Things I want to everyone to just. I hope everyone thinks about it, and focuses from there. Now, it's about a little less than 30 minutes that I've been live. So if there are questions about any of that or any other advice that I can offer before I close it out, because like I say, I do have somewhere I have to be soon, so I can't necessarily be on for the hour and a half long sessions that I normally do. So I'm just going to give a few minutes for anybody that's on. If you have questions or things you'd like me to comment on, I'm here for it. I'll give it a few minutes, and then otherwise we'll log off. So, in regards to Quarren TV upcoming, there is a final Road to CombatCon tomorrow night. I think that is going to be the last live stream before TSL 5. I don't believe Alec is going live on Monday. I'm pretty sure Mark isn't. I am definitely not, because that's the day of the tournament and we're going to be streaming. So there will not be any live streams next week that I know of. If Alec is, great. Um, Other than the Thursday live stream. Our tournament starts at the 50 and over tournament is the first tournament that we're going to be live streaming, and that starts at 3 o'clock Pacific. So that is 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Did I get that right? Yes, I did. I just had to think about it for a second there. Um, so, and then that's going to run for a number of hours. So that's going to be you know, going until, I don't know, if Melody's still on, she can comment on that. But either way, it's going to go for a few hours. Well, the exotics, or the exotics, is also starting that night, and then it'll go into the. I think it's technically like 6:30. I could be wrong on that one. I think we go till technically 6:30 p.m. Pacific, so that'd be like 9:30 Eastern. So like assume 9:30 10 is when the first day stream will run. And then there will be a schedule for that. So yeah, 50 and over is 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. So that's what's going on there. So the Electrum Sabercraft Pool 1 starts at 4:30. So again, that is Pacific time, and then that is running. And then there's 3 pools running that day, and then we'll go from there. So that's kind of an overview of the first day of streaming, and we're going to try to stream every single tournament, switching between rings as we go. I hope, we'll see what happens when we get there. We'll see how well the internet works, and we'll go from there. But don't see any other questions, so I'm going to leave it at that. And I will be logging off then, and I will say, if I see you in Vegas, great. Feel free to pepper me with questions or something like that. If I don't see you in Vegas, I hope to see your name on the streams. And beyond that, stay safe and united through Sabres.